4 million used cars are about to flood America's market. And while most people will get crushed in the coming collapse, a small group of smart buyers will walk away with deals not seen in a generation. Right now, dealers are drowning in $30 a day interest on unsold inventory, while rental giants and banks quietly flood auctions with repossessions and lease returns at a scale the market has never faced before. The average used car payment just hit $733 a month. Yet every week, prices are crashing thousands lower and finance losses keep piling up. The tsunami is already here. But what most Americans don't realize is that this was engineered by the biggest players in the business. And they've just triggered the greatest wealth transfer in automotive history. That Ford F-250 that sold for $64,000 last year, it's now worth $53,000 and falling fast. That Honda Accord someone financed at $38,000, dealers can't move it at $24,000 today. For the average family, it's a financial disaster. But what if I told you this manufactured collapse could be your golden opportunity? In the next few minutes, I'll show you exactly how this market was rigged from the start, why prices are in free fall right now, and most importantly, how you can be one of the few who turns this crisis into the car deal of a lifetime. How did we get here? And who engineered the squeeze that's about to wipe out billions overnight? For 3 years, the used car market wasn't just hot, it was on fire. A 2020 Ram 1500 that would have sold for $35,000 before the pandemic suddenly commanded $48,000. A Honda Accord that should have lost value by sitting in your driveway actually became more valuable with every passing month. Even base model Camrys, the definition of boring, were selling for more than they cost brand new. It wasn't just unusual, it was upside down. Cars became investments instead of expenses, and buyers were tripping over themselves to pay thousands above sticker price just for the privilege of driving home in something with 4 wheels. Ask anyone who tried to buy a car in 2022. Sarah, a nurse in Phoenix, spent months searching for a reliable sedan. Each week, prices jumped higher, she told me. That 2022 Honda Accord I had my eye on started at $28,000. Then it actually went up to $31,000. I thought I was losing my mind. What Sarah didn't know was that the same car would eventually sit on lots for $14,000 by March 2026, with dealers practically begging anyone, to take it off their hands. Meanwhile, Mike, a contractor from Ohio, thought he was playing it smart. He paid $64,000 for a Ford F-250 last year, convinced that trucks would only get more expensive. Last week, he drove past his dealership and saw the exact same truck, same trim, same year, listed for $51,000. That's $13,000. Gone, vanished. The story is repeating itself everywhere, from suburban driveways to dealer lots stacked with unsold inventory. But the pain isn't just in the sticker price. The average used car payment in America has ballooned to $733 a month. Stop and think about that. $733 every month for a used car. That's not a car payment. In some parts of the country, that's a mortgage. For families already squeezed by rising rents, groceries, and gas, it's a monthly bill that feels impossible to escape. And the kicker, the cars people stretch to buy are now worth thousands less than what they owe. Negative equity is everywhere. Millions of Americans underwater on loans, stuck with vehicles they can't afford to sell or trade. This wasn't a fluke or a natural market cycle. The whole system was engineered to squeeze every last dollar from buyers. Dealers, lenders, and automakers all played their part, feeding the frenzy with easy credit, limited inventory, and relentless price hikes. While the average family got locked into sky-high payments, the big players made off with record profits. 3 forces propped up the entire used car bubble, and every one of them was engineered by the biggest players in the business. First, the supply choke. In 2020, new car production in the U.S. cratered to 13.8 million units, the lowest lowest since the Great Recession. Automakers blamed chip shortages, but the real story was a coordinated slowdown. With factories idled and supply lines cut, the number of new cars hitting dealer lots dropped by millions. Less supply meant dealers could jack up prices on whatever inventory they had, turning even the most basic sedans into bidding wars. Second, cheap credit. While the rest of the economy was on life support, the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to near zero. Suddenly, anyone with a pulse could walk into a dealership and leave with a $40,000 loan at 2% interest, no questions asked. Lenders handed out 7-year loans like Halloween candy, and dealers pushed buyers into payments they couldn't possibly afford. The result? A feeding frenzy. Cars that should have lost value every year started going up instead, fueled by a tidal wave of easy money. Third, the fleet hoarding play. Rental car giants like Hertz and Enterprise, usually the biggest source of gently used cars for the public, slammed on the brakes. During the pandemic, these companies sold off nearly half their fleets to survive. But as travel returned, they faced a new problem. They couldn't buy new cars to restock thanks to the same production cuts that kept dealer lots empty. So instead of cycling their cars out at the usual pace, they held on to aging inventory and bought up used vehicles at auction, directly competing with consumers and driving prices even higher. The usual river of off-rental cars dried up to a trickle. Every link in the chain, from the assembly line to the showroom floor, was controlled by the same handful of corporations and financial institutions. They squeezed supply, flooded the market with cheap loans, and starved the used car pipeline, all while reporting record profits. The average family, meanwhile, was left fighting over whatever scraps remained, forced into bidding wars and predatory loans just to keep up with the basics of daily life. The impossible reality. For most Americans, buying a decent used car became a fantasy. The choice was simple: take on a payment you can't afford or drive something you hope will last another year. And for those who waited, hoping for relief, the crash coming next will make the last 3 years look tame. The market that turned cars into gold is about to turn them into lead. The only question now is who's left standing when the music stops. The dealer death spiral. Most people don't realize that dealerships don't actually own the cars sitting on their lots. Every sedan, truck, or SUV is financed through what's called floor plan credit, a massive revolving loan that lets dealers stock their inventory without paying cash up front. It sounds like a smart system, but in 2025, it's turned into a financial chokehold that's crushing the backbone of American car retail. Here's how it works. Every vehicle on a dealer's lot racks up interest every single day it goes unsold. That's not a rounding error. It's a real daily cost, often between $22 and $45 per car. For a typical dealer carrying 200 vehicles, just the interest can run $6,000 a day. That's $180,000 a month before a single car leaves the lot, before a single commission is paid. And that's just the interest. Add insurance, utilities, and the cost of capital, and the number climbs even higher. Steve, who runs a mid-sized dealership in Wisconsin, keeps a spreadsheet that would make most business owners lose sleep. He's paying $30 per car per day in floor plan interest. If a car sits for 40 days, the new national average, it's already eaten $1,200 in interest alone. Multiply that by 200 vehicles, and the math gets ugly fast. When cars were flying off the lot in under 2 weeks, nobody worried. Now, with inventory sitting for months, floor plan costs pile up like snowdrifts in January. The real kicker: dealers can't just pass these costs on to buyers anymore. With used car prices falling and buyers waiting for better deals, every extra day a car sits unsold shaves profit off the final sale. Steve's ledger shows vehicles that have sat for 90 days. By then, the floor plan interest has chewed through almost $3,000 per car. That's more than he'll make on half the vehicles he sells this month. He's not alone. 38% of dealers nationwide now say floor plan costs are their #1 threat. Some are slashing prices just to stop the financial bleeding, selling at a loss to avoid another week of interest. This isn't just a paperwork problem. When inventory sits, floor plan lenders get nervous. Miss a payment and they can seize cars right off the lot, auction them for pennies, and leave the dealer on the hook for the difference. That's already happening. happening. Floor plan companies have repossessed thousands of vehicles from struggling dealers this year, often triggering a death spiral. Less inventory, less revenue, even higher costs per car. The daily cost of holding inventory has never been higher, and it's turning every dealer's lot into a ticking time bomb. The longer cars sit, the deeper the hole gets. For dealers like Steve, the only way out is to move metal fast. But with buyers on the sidelines and prices dropping, desperation sales are becoming the new normal. The floor plan system that once fueled the American dream of car ownership is now threatening to wipe out the very people who built it. Steve's dealership in Wisconsin is bleeding cash, $120,000 a month just in interest to keep 200 vehicles parked on his lot. That's before paying his staff, before the lights come on, before a single car even moves. Every morning he opens his spreadsheet and watches the numbers climb. $30 per car per day just to keep the bank from pulling the plug. The National Automobile Dealers Association estimates that 25% of used car dealers could shut their doors within the next year. That's not a blip. It's thousands of businesses, tens of thousands of jobs, and entire communities losing their local dealership. The desperation is palpable. Some dealers are begging national chains like CarMax to buy up their inventory at wholesale, even if it means taking a hit of $2,000 or $3,000 per car. Others are slashing prices to the bone, hoping to move metal before the next floor plan bill comes due. Steve has started offering cash bonuses to anyone who can close a deal. Any deal, just to keep the lights on another month. This is how the flood starts. As more dealers go under, their lenders seize the unsold cars and dump them at auction, adding to the growing mountain of inventory. The cycle feeds on itself. More closures mean more cars hitting the market, which means lower prices, which means more dealers pushed to the brink. The backbone of the used car market, the independent dealer, is snapping under the weight of daily interest charges and evaporating demand. The tsunami of repos and returns. While dealers struggle, a second tidal wave is building, one that almost no used car shopper sees coming. It starts with a single line in the Inflation Reduction Act buried deep in the 2022 legislation. Leased electric vehicles count as commercial sales. That technicality, known as the leasing loophole, turned the electric vehicle market upside down. Suddenly, banks and automakers could claim a $7,500 federal tax credit for every electric vehicle lease, then pass most of that savings to drivers as lower monthly payments. The effect? Electric vehicle lease rates exploded. In 2022, only about 15% of new electric vehicles left the lot as leases. By March 2025, that number hit 67%. That's not a blip, that's a stampede. Nearly 1 million electric vehicles were leased from the start of 2022 through early 2025, all with artificially cheap payments, all set to return in a narrow window. Here's the catch. Leases end, and when they do, those cars don't just disappear, they come back all at once, flooding the used market. According to Recurrent Auto Project, 123,000 leased electric vehicles will return in 2025. But in 2026, that jumps to 329,000. By 2027, it's 650,000. That's over 1 million used electric vehicles dumped on the market in just 3 years. For context, in 2026 alone, electric vehicles will make up 5.3% of all lease returns, up from just 1.6% today. These aren't just numbers. They're vehicles dealers have to move, finance, and park somewhere. Even as buyers hesitate, it gets messier. Most of these cars were leased at inflated sticker prices, often with little money down. But electric vehicles don't hold value like traditional cars. Thanks to rapid tech advances, price cuts from Tesla, and battery anxiety, used electric vehicles are already selling for 20 to 30% less than their original manufacturer's suggested retail price. That means a $50,000 electric SUV leased in 2023 could hit the used market at $35,000 or less, sometimes far less. Dealers can't count on buyers to snap them up, especially when new electric vehicles with bigger batteries and faster charging show up every few months. The result, a glut of nearly new electric vehicles that nobody is sure sure how to price, and few are eager to buy. This isn't just a headache for dealers, it's a policy time bomb set by lawmakers and automakers chasing electric vehicle adoption targets without thinking through the aftershocks. The leasing loophole juiced sales in the short run, but now it's set to swamp the used market with vehicles that lose value faster than anyone expected. The repo wave. Every day in America, 15,000 cars are seized from their owners. Not per month, per day. That's 1.73 million vehicles repossessed in 2025 alone. The highest number since the fallout from 2009. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're families in every state, nurses, delivery drivers, single parents handing over keys because the payments have become impossible. The repo truck doesn't care if you're late because of a medical bill or a lost job. It just shows up, hooks your car, and drives off before sunrise. The pain hits hardest for those already struggling. Subprime borrowers, people with lower credit scores, are now defaulting at a record rate. In January, 6.6% of subprime auto loans were at least 60 days overdue, the highest level ever tracked. That means tens of thousands of Americans each week are waking up to find their only way to work, to school, to the grocery store gone overnight. The average negative equity for a repossessed car is over $6,700. And after the auction, most still owe $11,000 or more on a car they no longer own. For many, it's not just a vehicle lost. It's a job, a lifeline, a sense of stability. The repo wave isn't just a symptom. It's a force that's flooding the market with unwanted inventory. Every car yanked from a driveway or apartment complex gets dumped at auction, where it lines up next to hundreds of others, all looking for a new home. But with so many cars arriving at once, prices get hammered. Auction lots are overflowing, and dealers are forced to bid lower and lower, knowing that every day unsold means another hit from floor plan interest. For the average American, the dream of keeping up with payments has turned into a nightmare of falling behind, losing their car, and watching their credit tank for years. This isn't just a story about numbers. It's about the families who thought they could stretch just a little further, who believed the promises of easy credit and rising values. Now those promises have turned into a tidal wave of repossession sweeping across the country and leaving a trail of broken budgets and empty driveways. And with each car that hits the auction block, the price floor drops a little lower for everyone else still trying to hang on. The rental fleet fire sale. Hertz thought it could outsmart the market. In 2021, it made headlines by ordering 100,000 Teslas, betting that electric vehicles would be the future of rental fleets, and more importantly, that they would hold their value. But the gamble backfired. By early 2025, Hertz was staring down a $392 million quarterly loss, with depreciation on its electric vehicle fleet alone eating up $195 million. The company's solution: dump the cars. Not a trickle, an avalanche. Hertz announced it would sell off 40,000 electric vehicles, mostly Teslas, at a time when used electric vehicle prices were already in freefall. That's 1 in every 3 electric vehicles in its fleet hitting the market all at once. And Hertz isn't alone. Across the industry, rental companies are unloading inventory at a pace the market has never seen. The numbers are staggering. 2 million rental vehicles a year rolling out of airport lots and straight into the used car pipeline. These aren't just old beaters. Many are late model, low mileage cars, the kind that used to fetch top dollar at auction. But with so many vehicles flooding in, even the best maintained rides are getting hammered on price. Dealers who once counted on off-rental cars as a safe bet now watch values drop week after week with no floor in sight. The Hertz fire sale is more than a corporate misstep. It's the final blow to a market already drowning in supply. When one of the biggest players in the business gets burned this badly, everyone else takes notice. The company's decision to liquidate wasn't just about cutting losses, it was about survival. But for every car Hertz dumps, the pressure on prices intensifies. Auctions are stacked with row after row of ex-rental vehicles, and buyers know they can wait for even bigger bargains. The ripple effect isn't subtle. Every sedan and SUV Hertz offloads drags down the value of every similar car already sitting on a dealer's lot. This is what happens when the big guys get it wrong. Hertz's miscalculation didn't just hurt its own bottom line, it sent shockwaves through the entire used car ecosystem. As the rental fleet giants scramble to unload millions of vehicles, they're not just clearing out old inventory. They're rewriting the rules of the market, forcing prices lower, faster, and for longer than anyone thought possible. The underwater nightmare. Mike's story isn't unique. It's the new normal for anyone who bought at the top. That Ford F-250 he paid $64,000 for? It's now worth $53,000 on a good day and falling faster than the odometer can keep up. Ford's own depreciation data shows these trucks losing 17% of their value in just 2 years. That's nearly $11,000 gone, and for Mike, it vanished the moment he signed the loan papers. He's not alone. Nearly 4 in 10 Americans with a car loan are now underwater, meaning they owe more than their car is worth. According to Experian, that's 39% of all borrowers. Millions of people trapped in negative equity, stuck making payments on assets that bleed value every month. It's a wealth transfer hiding in plain sight. During the pandemic, the big players, dealers, automakers, lenders, engineered a market where prices only went up. Now, as the market collapses, it's regular people like Mike who are left holding the bag. He can't sell, can't refinance, and can't trade in without writing a check for thousands just to walk away. For every month he waits, his truck's value drops by another $500 to $1,000. By March 2026, that same F-250 could be worth $45,000 or less, leaving him $15,000 underwater before he's even halfway through his loan. This isn't just a story about trucks or sedans, it's happening across the board. A 2023 Honda Accord loses 37% of its value in 5 years, leaving owners with a car worth less than $24,000 on a loan that started at $38,000. The math doesn't work. And for millions, the only options are to keep paying, take a loss, or let the bank come, take the keys. The timing couldn't be worse. With 4 million used vehicles about to flood the market thanks to lease returns, repossessions, and rental fleet liquidations, the bottom isn't even close. Anyone who bought in the last 2 years is staring down a perfect storm. Falling values, rising payments, and no way out. For the big guys, the pain is just a write-off. For Mike and for millions like him, it's real money. Lost savings, busted budgets, and years of financial setback. The wealth that changed hands during the boom isn't coming back. And as the market keeps falling, the window to escape with any equity left is slamming shut. At the peak of this crisis, over 4 million used vehicles, including 1.73 million repossessions, nearly 330,000 lease returns, and 2 million rental fleet units, are flooding the American market in a single year. The evidence is clear. Industry decisions from rental giants liquidating fleets to policy-driven lease incentives directly caused this unprecedented inventory surge. The result is a 17% value drop for trucks like the Ford F-250 and a record 39% of car owners owing more than their cars are worth. In towns where the local dealership was as familiar as the grocery store, the lights are going out for good. 25% of used car dealers are expected to disappear within the year. That's not just a statistic, it means entire communities losing their only place to buy, sell, or service a car. But here's where you come in. While everyone else is watching their car values collapse and their equity vanish, you can be one of the few who turns this crisis into opportunity. The dealers who are still standing are desperate to move metal. Any metal, to keep the lights on. They're selling at losses just to stop the daily bleeding of floor plan interest. For the smart buyer who understands what's happening, it's a once-in-a-generation chance. That 2-year-old truck that commanded a $10,000 markup in 2023, it's selling $10,000 below book value today. That electric vehicle someone leased for $55,000, you can pick it up for $30,000 or less. Cash buyers will have their pick of the bargains, but even if you need financing, you're in the driver's seat. Dealers are more willing than ever to negotiate on price, interest rates, and extras just to get cars off their lots. The floor plan clock is ticking and they know it. The days of easy credit, endless inventory, and a dealer on every corner are over. What comes next is a market where the smart, informed buyer has all the leverage. The money that changed hands during the boom isn't coming back. But if you're watching this video right now, you just might be one of the few who turns this market crash into the best car deal of your life. Don't wait for the bottom. We're already there. The flood has begun, and for once the advantage belongs to the everyday buyer. Hit subscribe for our next video where I'll show you exactly how to time your purchase for maximum savings, which models are seeing the biggest drops, and the 3 questions that will make dealers fight over themselves to earn your business. The used car market as we knew it is dead, and for the informed viewer, that's the best news you'll hear all year.